Hello, everyone. Welcome to Craft Your Personal Vision Statement. My name is Chris Sparks. I'm the founder of Forcing Function. Quick introduction before we dive in on who I am and why we're here today. So Forcing Function, we do executive performance training. My primary offering is one-on-one performance coaching. I advise a select group of 12 founders, investors, and executives. My clients perform at their peak, achieve superior returns on time and capital, and design lives of greater freedom and purpose. At Forcing Function, we focus on the cultivation of four key elements: vision, systems, prioritization, and presence. Vision, design a life in alignment with your top values. Systems, make everything you want to do easier to do. Prioritization, move your most important goals forward. Presence, show up as your best self every day. Today, we're going to be focusing on the very first element, vision. Vision is listed first because vision needs to come first. I love this quote from Gordon Livingston: "Before we can do anything, we must be able to imagine it." Before we set goals, before we build habits, before we even begin moving, we need to at least set our course. What is the destination that we are heading towards? This workshop today is to celebrate our fourth cohort of team performance training. Our 10-week group coaching experience kicks off 3 weeks from today. Each week, you're going to implement one essential piece of my system for elite performance into your life and into your career. We curate a group of truly talented and warm individuals, plus 3 alumni mentors who return to hold you accountable and share their experiences. Applications for the 15 spots in cohort 4 are open until the 27th. I encourage you to visit teamperformancetraining.com, read those testimonials, and get a sense for the amazing outcomes that are possible for you. A few logistical items for today. This is a 40-minute workshop followed by about 10 minutes of Q&A. We're going to be taking questions via the Q&A function. You can see that at the bottom of your screen, which says Q&A. You can post and submit questions there. You can also upvote questions that have been submitted. We're going to be answering the questions that have been upvoted the most. Today is a single player sample of a team performance training session. But just like team performance training is not another course, this is not going to be a passive lecture. I'm sorry to disappoint you if you were hoping to just chill today. We're going to have some chat. We're going to leverage holding you accountable for putting this into practice. Normally with TPT, we have a lot of group interaction and small group sharing. Due to the group size, time constraints, today we're going to be in the chat. So make sure you have chat on to everyone. This is going to come in handy later. In this workshop, you are going to craft your personal vision statement. That means you are going to walk away with something that is going to give you a lasting sense of purpose and alignment. So make sure you get value today. Make sure you're putting these principles into action. Be present, participate, and engage. I'm going to be pausing, setting a timer, waiting for you to work through these steps on your own. Final logistical thing, this is being recorded. We're going to be sending the recording as well as a transcript to everyone who's here on Friday. So if something comes up, you have to leave early, no worries, you can finish it on your own. Now, before we jump into the exercise today, I just want to share a little bit of what I've learned about vision and why having a personal vision statement has been so instrumental in my life. This whole thing started with a really simple observation. Successful organizations have company vision statements. So if this works so well for companies, why wouldn't this work for me? Why wouldn't I have a personal vision statement? And something that I found is that I often behave like a dysfunctional organization. Some days I want one thing, some days I want something else. It feels like parts of myself are moving in opposite directions. It's almost this civil war and that I'm fighting against myself. And this is what I've found is so powerful about having a vision, is that it inspires, guides, and most importantly, unites myself, that I can have all of my resources pointed in the right direction. And I think this is something that's really missed when we're talking about productivity and performance, is everyone wants to move faster, but I don't think there's enough attention paid to the other dimension of trajectory, which is direction. Right? It doesn't do you any good to move sprinting as fast as you can in the wrong direction. That's very counterproductive. So thinking about trajectory, it's not only speed, but direction that's important. And this is what a vision allows for, is this consistent, coherent direction in that right trajectory. You're continually taking action that's taking you to the place that you want to go. So I love this concept of creative tension. This comes from the author, Robert Fritz. And he describes creative tension as being generated by the gap between your current reality and your future vision. The way that I like to describe this is thinking back to when you were younger. For me, I saw this in Reader's Digest. There was these spot the difference problems. You have two pictures, let's say it's two bedrooms, and you have to spot the differences between the two bedrooms. Maybe in one bedroom, there's a cat on the bed, and the other one, there's a dog. Or in one, there's a Grateful Dead poster, and the other one has a Pearl Jam poster. Whatever it is, but there are differences between these two images. And that's how it is as well with vision, is that we have one image, which is our current reality. This is where I am right now. Here are how things are in this moment. And the other image is where I want to be. This is what the world, what my life is going to look like when I achieve what I want to achieve. And it's becoming aware of all the differences between these two images. And what this feels like is we start to experience this cognitive dissonance, that these two images just aren't reconciling. That, hey, this is where we want to be, but this is where we are, and this is where we're heading. How am I going to get from current reality to this future vision? And for those of you guys who are into psychology, you know with cognitive dissonance, generally it's easier to change our beliefs rather than our behavior. Rather than saying, okay, I'm going to move towards this vision, you're saying, okay, maybe I'm going to downgrade this vision. Maybe this isn't what I want after all. And we're always looking for these ways to justify what we're already doing. But what if our beliefs were frozen? What if we couldn't change our beliefs, at least temporarily? Well, then we would have no choice to move forward, to take small steps towards bringing this vision closer to current reality. And this is why I like to believe that a well-crafted vision is this source of perpetual motion, and that cognitive dissonance acts as the fuel. Because anytime that I'm stuck, I'm unsure about what to do next, I can revisit this vision. What is one difference between this vision and where I am now? Okay, what's something that I can do to move forward towards that vision? What's something I can do to bring these images closer together? It's like this rubber band that's stretching. The greater the gap between reality and our vision, the greater the tension in the band. And the greater the tension, the greater the potential for action, because the tension is so big, we need to do something to resolve it. And this is why I'm always encouraging myself and others, set the bar high. Dream big. There is an apparent magic that comes from setting your sights on a really ambitious vision because it creates maximum tension to move forward. That this is your perpetual motion machine. Anytime you don't know what to do next, return to this vision. So now I'm going to give you all an opportunity to put this into practice, to start to craft your personal vision statement. Now, pay attention to these instructions because these are really important. I'm going to give you 4 prompts. Now, I want you to interpret these prompts however you like. Think of them as ways to get at what you really want out of life. For each prompt, you're going to only have 3 minutes to brainstorm your responses. Yes, 3 minutes. This time is going to go really quick. And no matter how much time that I gave you, it's never going to feel like enough. So this might sound a little bit weird, but try not to think so much for a change. Like, lead with your heart. What I mean by this is with less time to reason, to think your way to the right answer, this is your opportunity to discover what resonates most. What do you feel called to do? A couple instructions that I find make the most of these 3 minutes. First, treat this like a brainstorm. These are possibilities, not right answers. Don't worry about what you write. You can scrap anything later. Just keep writing. I recommend keep your pen moving the whole time. This is probably an important instruction. Have something nearby to write on. Notepad, scrap of paper, a postcard, whatever it is, preferably more space than you think that you need. I find that writing is really powerful compared to typing because it gives you permission to reduce the space between your brain and the page. that there's something about writing that allows things to come forth in this non-judgmental mindset. So have something nearby to write on with lots of space. And I think of this as almost a call and response. So anytime that you stop writing, pose the question to yourself again. So this first question, what am I creating? What's that first thing that comes to mind? Okay, write that down. I am creating, and then write that. What am I creating? I am creating, write whatever comes up. This is a concept from improv, is that the first response is the best response. Whatever pops up in your brain, write that down. Now, I personally like to have some music in the background to encourage some flow, get me out of my head. If you enjoy that, great, turn the volume up. If that's not for you, you'll see at the top where it says Chris is sharing computer sound. You can go ahead and mute that. Play your own music if you'd like. So without further ado, we are going to kick things off with our first prompt. So I'm going to be setting a timer for 3 minutes, and then I'll let you know when it's time for pens down and the next prompt. Okay. First prompt is, what am I creating? Start writing now. Okay, so question 2, what is my purpose? I recommend treating this as a call and response. So ask yourself, what is my purpose? You're saying my purpose is, and then write down whatever comes to mind. You have 3 minutes for this one. All right. Third question, call and response. Ask yourself, what am I committed to? So I am committed to, and then keep writing whatever comes up. 3 minutes. All right, our fourth and final prompt before we get to the fun part. What is my impact? So ask yourself, what is my impact? And then write what it is. 3 minutes. So now comes the fun part. Every time that I do this, I discover something new. If this is just all raw material that you can return to think, hey, what's something that I want to head towards? What's something that I want to do? But if you have this long list, it's really difficult to prioritize. So there's an importance to honing down, to making it more concise, actionable. So that's what we're going to do is all that stuff we brainstormed, all that raw material, we're going to go back to what we wrote and see what resonates with us the most. So we're going to go back to our 4 prompts, and for each one, you'll have 90 seconds. And you're going to use what you wrote to create one concise sentence that describes your true vision. Now, emphasis on concise. We could call this cheating if you incorporate all of the words that you wrote down into one massive run-on sentence. So a good rule of thumb is maximum 1 and per sentence. Something else that I found really helpful as well is to write your sentences in the present tense. For example, I am creating, my purpose is, I am committed to, my impact is. Why I find this present tense to be very useful is because you're talking about things as they are already happening. This is not aspirational. This is not some abstract thing that's going to be true in the future. You're bringing to mind what this would be like. You're imagining it. So let's combine these. We're going to go back to our original first prompt. What am I creating? I'm going to set a timer for 90 seconds. And I want you to just look at your list and see what jumps out at you, what feels right, what resonates, and to write one sentence that describes what you are creating. All right. Second sentence now. My purpose is. What resonates with you most? My purpose is. Okay. Number 3, I am committed to. Okay, certainly not least, perhaps most even important. My impact is, final sentence, my impact is. All right, guys. So now we have 4 sentences, and you're asking yourself, what are we going to do with these 4 sentences? Well, this is your vision statement. These combined act as your compass, what you're directing yourself to. So we are going to combine them. And because accountability and sharing is so powerful, I want us to all share them with each other. So we're going to type out our 4 sentences into the chat box. But importantly, we are not going to send. I don't want us to be biased by what anyone else's vision is. This is our own inner scorecard. This is what we want. So typing into the chat your 4 sentences. I'm going to be right there with you typing now. I've been doing this the whole time right there with you. And then on my mark, we are all going to hit enter, send at the same time. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to type this into the chat, and then we're all going to share it together. And remember to send it to everyone. Okay, 30 more seconds. Just typing the sentences. Wait to hit enter. All right, let's have some fun, guys. On the count of three, we're all going to hit enter and share our personal vision statement with the world. 1, 2, 3, enter. Wow, look at these. Mischief and joy, positive change, no mediocrity. A life of love, learning, inspiring those in my orbit. Sharing delicious craftsmanship that nurtures our body, mind, and spirit. Making teaching accessible to students all over the world. Helping others on their journey, seeing people transformed. Fostering energizing relationships and connections. Working with passion to advance humanity. Improving the lives of people through cooperation, through sharing each other's perspective. Creating stories that illuminate our shared humanity. Creating wealth and freedom of time for those who love, becoming the best version of ourselves. Creating the future. Committed to helping others every day, putting my heart to good use by loving and looking after my body. Creating a safe space for learners, having a contagious and memorable impact. Building a foundation to support my family. These are beautiful, guys. How did that feel? I don't know. If you're anything about me, there's a little bit of a tingle going through my body. It's like typing this, putting it out there in the world makes it real. And let's make it real for ourselves. So as a next step, I recommend sitting with your vision statement and thinking about how you can make it more concise while maintaining the spirit. So especially if you felt like today was a little bit too fast, or maybe your sentences are a little too long, how can you make this really crisp? Imagine this is your soul's elevator pitch, and you're able to concisely share it with the world in a way that grabs someone else and really fills you with this sense of aliveness and purpose. So take what you wrote and rewrite it in big, bold handwriting that inspires you on nice, colorful paper, and have some fun with artistically with writing this in a way that will inspire you. And I recommend posting your vision somewhere you'll see it every day, say your refrigerator or near your desk. That returning to your vision, let's say you return to it every day. It's you're returning to a well to fetch water. You're thirsty for water. You're thirsty for this dissonance, for this fuel that is going to propel you forward by reminding you what's important in your life. Because by keeping your vision statement top of mind, you'll become aware of all these obvious opportunities to bring current reality just one tiny pixel closer to where you want to be in the future. And I've worked with a lot of really smart, talented people over the years. And this is really one of those commonalities I've found, people who go on to accomplish great things, is that they're continually taking small steps forward, continually iterating. So identifying what is one small thing you can do every day to create, to take where you are today and bring it one step closer to where you want to be. That's all it comes down to, continuous iterative action. If you enjoyed today's workshop, I have to say, I think you would enjoy team performance training. So team performance training is my group coaching experience where I teach you how to become an elite performer. This was just one tiny taste, one sample, one little preview. In team performance training, I share the frameworks that I've distilled from over 600 performance coaching conversations with some of the brightest minds in the world. I take what I see as the most successful people, what they're doing, and then I distill that, deconstruct that into step-by-step actions that you can immediately implement. Each week we have one focus: goals, systems, attention, planning, And we put that into action. And by putting these things into action, we're able to continuously improve upon that process, get more value from it. That's the most important thing, is that you are putting these principles into action. So team performance training is designed for busy founders, executives, and investors creating something meaningful. If that sounds like you, if you're interested in joining this team, interested in accelerating your progress towards an ambitious vision larger than yourself, I hope you consider applying. You can check out all the details at teamperformancetraining.com. We have 15 places available by application. Those applications are open until the 27th of this month. So we're going to hand things off to the Q&A. If you have a question that you have not asked yet, go into the Q&A and ask that. I'll be taking those in order of upvote. If I don't get to your question today, if you think of one later, please email me. My email address is chris@forcingfunction.com. Very happy to answer any questions. And if you want some feedback on your vision, or most importantly, what are some next actions you can take? I would love to support you there as well. Okay, Q&A time. First question looks like it's coming in from Eric Hardy. Eric asks, hey, Chris, great exercise. My question is, what makes a good vision statement? I wrote my sentences down and it feels like a good step in the right direction, but I'm not sure if this is my vision. Well, welcome to life. I think one of these big questions is, well, what do I really want? Is this thing that I'm after really what I'm meant to do? And first, I think of this as just a pursuit without end, that a lot of what makes a life meaningful is the pursuit of meaning. And I really think this, like everything else, is iterative, that we progressively get closer to what makes us feel most alive, what resonates. So some things that have worked for me to uncover the pieces that I want to zoom in on, to double down on, are like, when you look at this vision, how do you feel? Something that I look for is that it's both exciting and scary, where there's this element of, wow, that would be so incredible to even go after that, much less accomplish that. But man, isn't that a little bit big or ambitious? And who am I to accomplish this? I think that the combination of excitement and fear is a really good compass to go after. Another one that you can try on is describing your vision, saying it to someone else, and seeing not what their reaction is. Feedback is useful, but this is your vision. How do you feel when you share your vision with someone else? I like to think that sharing it makes me feel a little bit embarrassed and a little bit proud at the same time. It's kind of audacious. It's like, yeah, I'm just one person, but hey, I'm trying my best, but also proud. It's like, yes, like I wake up every day, get out of bed with a sense of purpose, that I know what I'm doing today is taking one step towards what I want to accomplish. So that's another really good one. And I think, yeah, here's one more that I find really useful is, think of this vision as a litmus test. We're making decisions all the time, big and small. Big ones, what do I want to pursue in my career? Who do I want to spend my life with? Where's the best location to live that's most going to support me towards this vision? And small decisions like, hey, who should I talk to today? What should I do next on my to-do list? All these types of things. And every decision thinking about, well, let's come back to my vision. And does this vision give you direction? Where previously you were a little bit unsure of your decision, a little bit unsure of what to do next. And looking at this vision makes that clearer for you. That's how you know the vision is serving its purpose, is that it is giving you this sense of direction, that you are more able to take continuous motion in the right direction. Hope that was helpful, Eric. Try that on for size. Pratik asks, thanks, Chris, for this. Any more tips on dealing with the cognitive dissonance when you identify your gap? Any perspective shifts for harnessing it as fuel instead of letting it discourage and frustrate you? Wow, this is a really key, important question. So again, what we know about cognitive dissonance is that generally, if we see something that is out of line, something that's, hey, I said that this was really important to me, but I'm not taking action on that, the default is to say, well, I guess it's not that important to me. I guess it's okay that I'm not taking action on it. And but the thing is, if we fix that variable of belief, we write our vision down, we commit to it at least for a little while, we remove that from the equation. We can't tell ourselves that it's not important because it's staring us right in the face. So we have no choice to move towards it. And this really gets at my whole concept of experiments. This is how I live my life. This is something I find super instrumental to moving forward is commitment. Not commitment forever, but commitment for a period. For me, for vision, it comes down to every quarter, where I think of every quarter of my life, every 3 months is one chapter in a story. And I come back to this creation of a personal vision statement and I see what comes up where I can completely reorient my vision, the direction that I want to take in my life, but only every 3 months, right? I need to give the experiment enough time to run. And in that 3 months, I'll start to see what are the things that I'm doing that seem to be bringing me closer to where I want to be. Because our values, our priorities, our vision is going to shift over time as we learn more about ourselves, as we learn more about the world, as we learn more about what we want. So commit, but only for a little while. And through that commitment, I find that we move away from this sense of doubt, discouragement, frustration, and it's more this resolve of, well, this is where I'm heading. I might as well do something today. It's like solving for time period. I think this is one of the biggest weapons that we have is a really long time preference that I am going to be working on something for a really long time, potentially for the rest of my life. And what amazing permission that gives to try things, to make small failures of looking foolish, but all in this greater end of figuring out what do I want and what is the best way of accomplishing that. So Pratik, the short answer is commit and see what happens. We have some really good options here. I'm going to take this question from Ken. I'm going to try to get to all of these questions. Ken's question is, how much specificity would you include in a personal vision statement? Seems there's a tendency to use a lot of cliches that sound great, but could really mean almost anything in practice. I see these repeatedly on company walls and they all sounded the same. Yeah, it's really easy to create something that's fuzzy, but doesn't change anything that you do. Think about this in terms of a company vision statement or a personal vision statement. You'd have to be able to argue the opposite, right? Think about this from a company. It's easier to think about a company than ourselves a lot of times. If a company value is do good or try hard or treat the customer well, it's very hard to argue the opposite of those. Well, are we going to do bad? Are we going to treat the customer badly? Are we going to just half-ass things? So that's a good test for your own vision statement is, could you argue the opposite? This vision statement is useful to the extent that it helps you make decisions, that it helps you negotiate the inherent trade-offs of life. And something that I've learned over the years is you have to be willing to give up things that you want in order to have a chance at getting the things that you want the most. So specificity, if this helps direct you to take action, then it's probably specific. If reading this doesn't help make clear what you should do next when you're facing some sort of fork in the road, then you probably could be a little bit more specific. So anytime someone presents me with a goal, my follow-up is, Great. What are the costs of that goal? What do you need to give up? And I think this is a really important part of staying in the game for long enough to achieve what you want to achieve, is coming to terms with what you are not going to pursue in order to pursue what you want the most, what you're willing to pay in terms of time, effort, sometimes even struggle, but that it's all worth it because this thing you're going after is worth it. It's important enough. So those are some things to think about. Does this direct action, is this something that you are consciously trading off something? And is it concise, at least to you? And you can only be the judge of that. Sophie asks, best book recommendations for these topics. Yes, one recommendation that I would share is from that author that I mentioned earlier, Robert Fritz. His book, he has a number of them, but the one that I recommend first is called The Path of Least Resistance. And this is where he introduces this concept of creative tension. So discovering that the gap between what our current reality is and what our vision is what drives us forward. And being a creative, I think it'll particularly resonate with you, as he's a composer. He uses a lot of that language. Another book that I really recommend that builds off some of Robert Fritz's work, but is a little bit more holistic, focused on business organizations or executives within organizations. It's called the Fifth Discipline Field Book. So this is a workbook version of a management classic called The Fifth Discipline. And there's a chapter in particular called Personal Vision, which has exercises to excavate things that you want in life and define them in terms that are meaningful for you. So asking yourself really important questions when you want something is, what does that bring you? What does that unlock for you? And this is a big part of when I'm working with clients to identify the most direct path. If you know why you are doing something, what you're trying to achieve, you can usually uncover more direct ways there, right? Not more efficient, not faster, but direct. You're going directly at what you want. So that's another really good one that I recommend in terms of prompts, exercises to put this vision into action. This question is coming in from Anonymous. What do you recommend for those who are all over the place, who have too many things on their mind, whose vision statement is not concise enough or feels too broad and varied? First, I would encourage you to be gentle with yourself. I think with all of this, it's trying to be curious rather than judgmental. So if you don't feel like you have a good sense for what you want out of life, start there. There's nothing inherently good or bad about this, right? You're not behind anywhere else. It's not that everyone else knows and you don't. Everyone has questions about what they're doing, particularly on a day-to-day basis. So try to think of this as something that you return to, and that every time you return to this exercise, you'll learn something new about yourself. Again, it's an iterative process. And the way that I like to frame it is, what an opportunity that I have the rest of my life to learn about myself, and that this is a quest that never ends, that only gets deeper. That the more I understand myself, the more I have a sense of peace, the more of a sense of conviction in what I'm doing. So that's really my advice, is don't come into this with expectations that you're going to have a perfect answer. This isn't, you have 3 minutes and that you write down this paragraph vision statement that guides you for the next 40, 50, 60, 70 years. This is a continuous process. So, if you're trying to be more specific, something else that might work for you is try talking this out. What is the language that you use? or getting some feedback from others who know you really well. What are the things that you seem to do really well that you feel naturally drawn towards? Questions like, hey, what feels like a good day? When you feel most alive, what else is going on? There's lots of different angles of approach to this, but try to come at it with a sense of curiosity rather than needing to know an answer. Okay. Final question coming in. This question is asking, is this what team training is like all the time? What's different about the class from this workshop? Yeah, because of the group size today, where we had a pretty large group and trying to compress this down to an hour, it's definitely a bit different. So in team performance training, each week we have one specific area that I have found peak performers are very skilled at, that they have taken the time and effort to install this into your life. So we started the foundations with goals, building on this vision. What do you want? And defining those in terms that are important to you. And then moving to systems. What are the leverage points in your life? What are the things that you do that have the greatest impact? And then how do you frame those in terms of priorities? So that you put the things that are most important first. And then attention, deciding what's relevant. What are you paying attention to? And then continuing to build from there in terms of habits and behavior and planning and delegation and putting things in place in your life so that you are continually iterating, continually improving, and moving forward. And what I love about team performance training is that we go through a lot of intentional effort to curate an amazing group of 15 people. So those who you're surrounded by are doing really inspiring things that you can learn from, have a lot of experience that they can share with you, and most importantly, are excited to give you feedback to help you see your own blind spots or to help illuminate a path forward. I think that's one of the most beneficial parts of team performance training is who you're surrounded by in the room. So to take advantage of that, we do some group coaching, we have some small group feedback, and most importantly, we have exercises where, just like we did today, we force you to implement something. It's one thing to learn it, it's another thing to put it into action. So you immediately put something into your life, you try it, you see what works, we build upon that. And that's what the 10 weeks is continually building and expanding upon that foundation. If you have any specific questions around team performance training, I would love to answer those. Again, my email is chris@forcingfunction.com. We've tried to answer as many of these as we can in the FAQ at teamperformancetraining.com. I think that's all the time that we have for today. If you have any questions, if I wasn't able to get to yours today, send me an email. And thank you guys so much for being here, for showing up, for putting in the work. Again, I think this is something that's so powerful to do and return to. So I hope you have a little bit of a sense of inspiration, idea of what's going to make a fulfilled life, and take this feeling throughout your day. Come back to how this feels and understand that this can be more of a continual thing for you if you have this vision in mind. With that, great to see you all. Thanks for being here.